just when you thought I was done about talking about this topic, I have yet another point of view that I want to share. And today we're going to continue the discussion around the importance of courage and having sales courage when you're building your business and learning sales skills. I'm Dr. Nadia, founder of the Doyen Agency and host of the Straight Talk About Sales podcast. And today we're going to continue our discussion around fear, courage, and various tips and strategies on how making small tweaks in how you move and flow in your business can change everything and help you grow your business and move things forward. This is an episode you don't want to miss. In this season of the Straight Talk About Sales podcast, I've really spent a great deal of time talking about courage and really just sharing a lot of different excerpts from my book, Sell Like a Lady: How to Master Sales with Dignity, Class, and Grace. And one of the things that I wanted to touch on today is this topic around not only courage, but let's also look at fear and how these come into play when you're looking at sales and having sales conversations and growing your business. So, the first thing I want to touch on today is to just reiterate that fear is a thief and a liar. And I don't know about you, but there are times when if I allow myself to go down the spiral or the rabbit hole of what if, and just allowing my imagination to run wild, it really can take me to some not so great places because, the drama in my mind is, ooh, it's really good, it's juicy, but it's not always true. As a matter of fact, it frequently isn't true at all. And I remember, and I think I shared this story in the book, but I remember when I was working on my dissertation. I was actually, nope, I wasn't yet working on my dissertation just yet, but I was in my doctoral program. And as part of that, I had a residency where I would, I had to fly out to imagine this. The irony is I flew out to Phoenix. I did not live in Phoenix yet. I lived in Florida, in Jacksonville. And I had to fly out to Phoenix. And part of what we were going to discuss was the dissertation. What might your topic be, your type of study, all these different things. And I had not figured it out. I just wasn't sure. I had some ideas percolating, but I was really stressing. And I remember allowing my mind to just do the what if, because it wasn't just the what if around not knowing all the answers, but it was the what if of not knowing all the answers and then being embarrassed in front of my peers once I arrived in Phoenix and did this class, right? And I remember this because I was so stressed and worried and worked up in the what ifs and the fear of embarrassment and just not feeling like I was up to snuff to be in this room with all these other doctoral candidates and not have my stuff together. Not only did it just take me down that spiral, but I literally was physically ill by the time I arrived and landed in Phoenix. Like literally, I was sick. And I share that because I made myself sick for no reason. None of the things that I had dreamt up in my mind as I'd gone down and allowed myself to go down this rabbit hole of what if ever transpired. I wasn't the only one that didn't have it all figured out. That was the whole purpose of us coming to Phoenix in the first place. And so it's just really interesting, right? And then that was, I wish I could say that was the only time, because I've had that experience. I now know what to do to not to go down the rabbit hole. But when you think about building your business and you think about sales and you think about the possibility of rejection and you think about what could go wrong and you think about all these things, the fear and the stories and what I call the scandalicious drama that is going on in your mind can literally sometimes manifest in the physical, in your body. And you're just like, what in the world? So I want to really just put that out there because I find it difficult to teach and train on sales without having some sort of acknowledgement or nod toward courage and having sales courage because it does take a lot of courage. Whether you're building a business, a brand, or a book of business within another company, it just really takes courage. And so, if you haven't learned this about me, I'm a word girl. I love definitions and understanding words and meanings. And so, courage is the mental or moral strength to venture, persevere, and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. And so, when you are learning sales and improving your sales skills or building your business or your book of business, it's important to understand that courage is part of the equation. And again, if you listen to the previous episode, I talked about how I feel that in a lot of sales trainings, this is the piece that is overlooked, that we don't take the time to really acknowledge and appreciate the amount of courage it takes to do this work. And so I want to give you that level of support and just really give you that nod. And so a couple of things that I've done and just a few things I want to share with you to help you to really tap into that is one, this whole idea. I cannot take credit. This was all Mel Robbins. You can grab her book, The 5 Second Rule. I love that book. And in it, Mel talks about how similar to the stories, right? There are these things where, and one of her examples, it was just getting out of bed. I'm not a big alarm clock girl and hitting the snooze button. That is not my struggle. However, I know that there are people that is their struggle. And so in the book, Mel talks about, the 5 second rule. You count down from 5, you then take immediate action. And that was a rule that she implemented. Part of was just getting out of bed. Some days it's like that. I don't know how I'm gonna get out of bed. But I leverage that also in my work and in those moments where I may not even want to, pick up the phone or do my follow-ups or whatever the case may be when it comes to sales and building a business is count down from 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, right? There's no more stalling, no more hemming and hawing. It's go, go, go. And when you start to find your rhythm, it really does help you to be able to move forward powerfully and to really be able to move past the fear. Because this is one of the things that I've learned over the years in doing this is action helps to eradicate the fear. There's lots of fear. I remember when I first started and I was out speaking and I first started speaking and getting on stages and sharing my sharing my knowledge and ideas and getting and being in front of the room. And it was like, I don't know if I can do this. And it was like action eradicates fear. The fear of reaching out, the fear of doing the things, the fear of possibly facing rejection. The action helped to eradicate fear. And it proved to my brain that all the things that I was ifing about didn't come true. And I now had a different story and a different perspective to help me be able to move forward. I've often butchered this quote from We Built a Zoo, or We Bought a Zoo, sorry, not built. See, butchering that too. But it's basically the essence of it is 20 seconds of insane courage can change your life. That's Nadia's paraphrase, right? And so leaning into that, whether you need more, 15 extra seconds, 5 seconds to take action, but 20 seconds of insane courage, insane bravery can change your life. To really just embrace that I may be afraid, I may be nervous, I may have these stories going on in my head, the gremlins may be speaking to me, but if I just start to take the action, then I can tell myself a different story because I will see that the things that have been holding me back simply are not true. And so I want you to commit to saying yes to you, saying yes to your big dream, saying yes to your big vision, saying yes to the things that it is that you want. And sales and learning how to do sales is just part of the process on your way to getting there. And then finally, I really actually it's two more points, not finally, not yet. One more thing I wanted to share is being able to define success on your own terms. With the rise of social media and all the things, it's so easy to go down a different type of rabbit hole where you're comparing yourself to all these other people and you're only seeing a tiny portion. And sometimes that tiny portion isn't really true, or it is, but you don't see the full picture and all the other stuff that comes with it of their success, of what's going on in their business, or how things are really working for them. And it's easy to start comparing yourself to that and feel like I could never, or this isn't my reality. And so how do I move forward? And so I challenge you to take a moment to define success on your own terms. And then I want you to schedule regular times where you're checking in and you're reassessing, like, how are things going? What adjustments might I need to make in order to achieve or even exceed my goals? I recently spoke, actually, the week of this recording, earlier this week, I spoke with a group of women entrepreneurs and business leaders. And part of what I shared with them was what I call I am where I am. Because a lot of times, we as women business owners, business leaders, when we are assessing, especially when things aren't going well and things are challenging or things don't look the way we want them to look, it's really easy to bring in the emotions of embarrassment, shame, right? Disappointment, and all of those things. And not that you're not allowed to feel those, but what I have learned in my work is typically, not always, typically men, when the things are not going well in the business, they do a better job of separating the business and the business's performance from them and their worth or their value or their confidence. Whereas a lot of times women is very intertwined. So if the business isn't going well, then this somehow means that there's something inherently wrong with me. Hence the shame and the shrinking and the pulling back because this over here isn't working. So somehow this impacts me. And that's not true. You are still amazing. You're just as amazing now as you were when things were going well. The business may have hit a few snags, and that's part of the process. There's highs and lows. Being an entrepreneur and a business owner, business leader is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. And so, really, just acknowledging, like, okay, I am where I am. Here's where we are. Looking at the numbers, getting clear on whatever it is, what are the metrics that we've been measuring? And then from there, minus the emotion, now we can come up with a plan and help us to move forward. Deal with the emotions, but don't make it about you. Eliminate that stuff. And that goes back to getting that support, having community, having a therapist. I'm not against therapy, right? Whatever it is that you need to really help and support and buoy you up during those times, because there will be highs and lows in business. There are wins and losses, if you will, in sales and growing your business and building your big book of business. But it's not the end all be all. And that does not inherently change who you are as a person, even when things aren't necessarily going the way you would want them to go in the business. And now, the final thing that I wanted to share today for today's episode is trust your gut. Too many times we give so much of our power away to other people, to experts. And I've been there, done that, have a couple t-shirts. And I'm learning to say, you know what? Let me think about it. Let me sleep on it. Let me sit with it. Because there are certain times when my gut is saying one thing, but the experts or my coach at the time or people that I trust may say something else. And there are times when I'm like, you know what, Nadia, this is a Nadia decision. You don't need to run it by an entire committee. You need to sit down, get quiet, maybe journal, maybe pray or meditate. And what is it that your gut is saying? because we've been taught to not trust ourselves. And your gut is there for a reason. And that little small voice is telling you something for a reason. And so I want you to lean into that and learn to trust that, because that is going to be your secret weapon. Part of your superpower is to lean in and trust that. So again, courage, definitely needed. Sometimes all you need is 20 seconds of insane courage to change things and turn it around. Fear is a thief and a liar. We will not continue to allow it to lie to us and steal our joy and our progress. We are going to leverage that 5-second rule, count down, take action, say yes to us, silence the what ifs, define success on our own terms, and trust our gut. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode of Straight Talk About Sales. And if you have feedback or questions or topics you want me to share on a future episode, I would love that. Simply send us an email to askdrnadia@thedoyenagency.com, and we'll be sure to take a look and mix it in with the future episode. Take care. See you soon.